Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Will to Live Initiative podcast, a new podcast where I investigate ongoing, unlawful, non-consensual experimentation on innocent men and women in the U.S. and possibly abroad. I am one of those people victimized by this atrocity, and now I am working hard to restore justice by sharing evidence and information in hopes of prompting a proper investigation. Join me in my fight and help raise awareness by tuning in and sharing this podcast with your family and friends. Over the past 3 years, I have made several pleas for help from friends and family. I've reached out to attempt to explain my situation by providing proof of what's happening in hopes of gaining your support and assistance. Now, here we are today, and it seems we have not made progress at all. I have tried many times to talk with those closest to me about these experiments. I've scheduled conference calls, Zoom meetings, started this podcast, and even tried speaking with people one-on-one. Everyone, with the exception of 2 people, has joined those calls at least once. Even after me extending several invites, and those who have joined, while I do appreciate your time, the calls are inconsistent. I've created an online petition with information and videos about the experiments and my experiences. I've asked people to share these, even read them, but little to no response and few signatures. I've sent video files, audio files, articles for people to read and watch and, gain some understanding. But you don't watch them. I've been racking my brain trying to figure out why this is. Asking myself, what's the problem? What am I not doing? What am I not saying? And I finally figured it out. Well, not so much figured it out as accepted what I have suspected. At first, I thought that maybe I wasn't explaining things well enough. Maybe it was too technical. Maybe it was too much information. Maybe it wasn't enough information. And for some of you, one of those reasons may be true depending on who you are. But what I've finally come to accept is this. The reason I am still trying to explain this after 3 years, the reason many of you still really don't get it is because you simply don't want to. You don't want to believe that is true. You've made up your minds that this isn't real, that there is no way this could be happening, no way this is possible. Or as one of you put it when talking to someone else that I overheard you talking to, I just don't see it. Now, how do I know you don't want to understand? It's simple. Because you have yet to make any consistent effort to understand it. Keyword being consistent effort. I've spent and still spend a great deal of time, practically all my time, gathering evidence and documenting these incidents. Doing my own investigation and research so that not only can I make sense of what's happening and understand it, but so that everyone else, from experts to the layperson, can understand what's happening also. And I believe I've done a very good job of that, given the circumstances and with very little to no resources. But none of that matters if people don't take the time to examine the evidence so that they can understand. Without making the effort, you are sure to go on being ignorant of what's happening. Look, I get it. Okay? At first glance, it really does sound unbelievable. If someone I claim to love and care about were to come to me with something like this, I would be skeptical too. But knowing me, I would at the very least try to understand. I would ask the important questions, hear what they have to say, view whatever evidence they say that they have, even if just out of curiosity. When you really think about it, you really don't have a reason to disbelieve what I'm saying to you. At least not a logical or valid reason. You not understanding is no reason to disbelieve. You, quote unquote, not seeing anything is no reason to disbelieve. What do you expect to see? What are you looking for? Are you familiar with directed energy weapon systems? Do you understand what they do and how they work? Are you familiar with operational psychology, also known as PSYOPs? Do you understand how these things work? How organized psychological tactics are used? Do you understand electromagnetic waves and frequencies? Do you know how to detect and identify them? Because if you don't understand or even have basic knowledge of these things, then how can you know when or if they are or are not being used to harm someone? Now, I have done my due diligence and understand how this all works. And I can answer most questions regarding the technology and tactics used in this experiment, enough to help you understand the basics of what's happening. Right now, I don't have any experts to corroborate my findings. There are different sources I can cite to help you understand some basic technological and tactical principles, but really no one expert who has reviewed my evidence and can agree with me. I have found no expert that I can, consult. And even if I did, how would you know that he or she is telling you the truth? Do you believe the expert just because he or she says they are an expert? Do you trust their word because of their credentials? Do you have faith in them? Most times an expert or a doctor can tell us something and we go with it, no questions asked, just because they said it, even without them explaining their findings, even without them going into great detail of what they're talking about. This is how researchers were able to get away with the Tuskegee experiment for 40 years. Doctors and nurses telling these men they were being treated for quote-unquote bad blood. Not that they were part of a syphilis study, but bad blood. And this went on for 40 years. Lives destroyed, families destroyed, because people trusted the experts instead of questioning them. There are plenty of other examples, and we'll touch on those another time. I just want you to understand that while having an expert would be helpful, it's not 100% necessary right now. Besides, what better expert than the victim? You won't find anyone who can give you a better description and analysis of this situation than me. And that's not to be arrogant, but that's just because I know what I know. And I hope that I don't come off as chastising or really complaining. But this is more an expression of my disappointment and just wanting to help you all to understand what I'm thinking and how I'm feeling in hopes of, getting you to see the other side of it. The main thing I ask of you, my family and my friends, and the reason for this video is to ask for one thing. Have a little faith in me and make the effort to understand. Again, all I'm asking of you, my family and friends, is to have an open mind. Look at the evidence and make the effort to see and understand what's happening. It's okay to have doubts. Just give me the benefit of those doubts. Have faith in me. Trust me. Even though you might be afraid of possible retaliation, that somehow you too might be targeted, afraid of how it would look to support someone who others might be against or who others don't believe. And those are valid fears. But with courage, we can overcome those fears together. We can overcome and expose this unlawful program, but we must do it together. I need your help. Because history will remember and honor those of us who rose to the occasion, and it will vilify those who cowered and folded. Think of this as a trial, court proceedings, and you are the jury. The evidence must be presented in an organized fashion, explaining each piece of the puzzle to help you see the big picture. Now, this thing has a lot of moving parts, and it's going to take more than a short conversation or two here and there to explain, which is why I'm making the effort to present the evidence and explain it. But I need you to participate and play a part as well. And the part I need you to play is to think. The current culture has spoiled people with easy answers and quick sound bites, and that's how people learn half-truths. Depending on the media, to spoon-feed info to them. This particular situation calls for more effort to understand. Once you understand, once you get it, then you can't help but be moved to act. You can't help but to stand up and say, enough. This must be stopped. There must be justice. Join me in this fight for my life and my freedom. If you care anything about me, our friendship, our family name, our relationship, then you will make the effort to understand, have faith in me, and work with me. Now, I will start hosting the calls again, and would also like to start some live streams. But the way these social media platforms are set up, you need a certain number of followers in order to use those live features. But whatever the case, please tune in, ask questions, share, and invite your friends. And of course, you can always call me. I won't give up. I won't stop until you and everyone else understands and sees that this is a very real human rights violation that affects not only me, but others across the country. That's all for this episode. Be sure to sign the petition at change.org/will-to-live. That's WILLTOLIVE. Also, join me on Twitter and Instagram. The username for both is will-to-live-US, as in Sam. And stay tuned for the next episode of the Will to Live podcast. Thanks for listening.